I'm assuming now that you have downloaded both R and RStudio and gotten both of them installed, and that you also have your Census API key ready to go. I'm going to show you how to start R from a Windows 10 PC machine, and obviously the startup will look different on a Mac. I assume if you're running a Mac, you know how to start programs on a Mac. But here we go. You would just choose the Start button right here and go find R. Okay. Oh, R, there it is. Actually, not R. Choose RStudio right there. You should look for that blue circle with a white R in the center. I've actually got a shortcut to it right here because I use it so often. But click on that, and this is what RStudio looks like when you first open it up. Now you'll probably have a lot less junk down here in this environment window than I have in mine, because I've been using R for quite a while and I've accumulated a lot of stuff down there. But essentially, you're looking at your hard drive. This is like opening up the Explorer application and poking around on your hard drive on your computer. This is a tab where it's blank right now, obviously, but any plots you generate in R will show up here. These are packages. These are little helper programs that you can download and install into R to help improve R's functionality. And it lists them here. This is help. You can get help on any sort of R thing that you need right here. I'm actually not sure what Viewer does. I've never actually used that, but anyway. So that's the environment there, basically your hard drive and a couple of other things. This is your environment. Things that you do in code over here will make things appear over here in your environment. This is where you'll find variables that you create, data sets that you create, what we call data frames, which are spreadsheet-like structures that hold data. They'll pop up over here. This right now is your output window. This is how R talks back to you. What we'll need to do before we can start using R is set up a project folder for this particular project we're going to be working on. And that's a good thing to do because it keeps all of your data and your scripts, your programming and so forth for that project all in one place where you can get to it nice and easy. But once we do that, we'll open up a script file over here in this area, and that's where you'll paste in the code that I've provided and run it. Okay. So let's start from the beginning of that process. This is kind of a one-time per project thing, but let's set up a new project. Just click File and New Project, just like that, and choose this first option here, New Directory, and New Project, right there. And give your project a name. You can give it any name you like. I'm going to call this maybe that, using the Census API. All right. You can, if you want, click the Browse button and store this project somewhere else, but I think things will work best if you just take the default there and choose Create Project. Okay. So once I do that, it sets up this new workspace for this particular thing I'm going to be doing, learning about the Census API. Notice I'm in a subdirectory right here called Using the Census API, r.rprog. That's the name for the project file. And everything that I do in here, data files and whatnot, is going to be stored in this subdirectory. All right, so let's open a new R script that we can paste the code into that I provided for you in the lesson. To do that, just click File and New File, and then choose R script, the first option there. And so now you have actually 4 areas. This area up here is the script file. It's right now it's called Untitled. In fact, let's go ahead and save it. Give it a meaningful name. Let's call it File, Save As. There we go. And let's see. Let's call this Census API script. Okay, click Save. See how it popped up down here in the environment window? Anytime you want to get back here, just click that and it'll pop open right up here. It'll open on a little tab up here. And so now we have a place to run our edit and run our code. This is the output window. This is where R will talk back to you. Again, this is your environment where variables and data sets you create will pop up here. And then this is just the contents of the project subfolder. Okay. Let me paste in the code that I've given you. Let's see, I've already got it copied there to my clipboard, so I just pasted it in. Notice how when I pasted it, the name of the file, Census API script.r, turned red. That means that I've made unsaved changes in the script. And if I want to save these, I can just click File and Save, and see it turned black again to let me know that I've made no changes. The minute I change something, just add a space here at the end, see it turns red again. So that's just how you know whether you have unsaved changes in your code. There's actually not a whole lot you need to change about this script in order to run it. The one thing you do definitely need to change is you need to substitute your actual real live working API key for this paste your Census API key between these quote marks text right here. So just highlight that and delete it, okay, and then paste whatever your API key is between those two quote marks. I'll just undo that. Now, I have R set up to remember in the background what my API key is, so I'm actually not going to run this line of code because it will actually mess up the program if I run it. So in order to tell R to skip this line of code, I'm just going to stick a pound sign at the front of it right there. See how when I did that, the whole line of code turned green? That's R's way of saying this is something I'm not going to run. See, there's the regular line of code, add a pound sign, and it turns green, right? That just means R is going to skip it, okay? You don't want to do that. You want to leave it like this and paste your API key in here and run it, okay? So that's one difference between what I'll do and what you'll do. Another difference between what I'll do and what you'll do, notice how I have these first two lines of code commented out. That's what the term for sticking a hashtag in front of a line of code is. You're commenting it out. You're converting it from executable code to just a comment that is for whoever is looking at the script. R is just going to ignore it. But these are two commands that actually install the Tidy Census package and the SF package. Packages, remember, are those little extra helper programs that help R do things that it can't do all by itself. The thing is, once you install a package on your machine, it's there until you uninstall R. So you only have to install a package once. It's sort of like installing Microsoft Office on your computer. Once it's installed, and you don't have to keep installing it every time you want to use it. So that's why I have these commented out. I've already installed both of these packages. I don't need to install them again. But since this is probably your first time running them, you'll want to remove those hashtags and actually run that code. Okay. To run code, what you do is you highlight the code that you want to run, and you click this Run button right here. Okay, so you would want to highlight all of this code, okay, and run it by hitting the Run button. I'm going to run it in chunks. I'm going to skip these first two for the reasons that I've just explained, and I'm going to run these 4 lines here. Okay, so I've highlighted them, and I'm going to click Run. Okay, so see, R's doing things down here. By the way, these 2 lines of code, the library tidy census and library tidyverse, those are, notice they're installed up here, right? But actually these 3. But when you use the library command like this, library function, it's like opening the application to use it. So like when you have Microsoft Word installed on your computer, you install it only once, but every time you want to write a document, you open Microsoft Word, right? So this is sort of like that, these 3 lines. So you have to run these every time. All right, so I've opened those, and let's see. I'm also going to. I guess I actually did go ahead and run this one. This just calls up another of those packages that we're going to have to use. It's actually a sub package in one of these earlier packages. But so do that. Then I'm going to skip this line. You're going to run this line, okay? But I'm going to skip it. And then this is the code that is actually going to go get the data from the U.S. Census Bureau. Let me run it real quick, and then I'll explain to you what this data is and a little bit about how R went and got it for you. So I've highlighted the rest of the code, and let me run it. Here we go. Okay, so do you see what it did? All of a sudden we have this My Census Data thing up here in the environment. And if I click on this, just like that, well, look, it's kind of like a spreadsheet, right? What happened here? Let me back up a little bit. So first of all, R said, okay, create a data frame. That's what this is. This is a data frame. Okay, it looks kind of like a spreadsheet. It's in structure. It's got rows and columns and variable names across the top. So create a data frame called My Census Data, and then in that data frame, that's what that arrow means. Use the get ACS function. That's like a little subroutine in R. It's actually a subroutine in this tidy census package right here. But use the get ACS function, and then these are arguments. These are things that tell the function specifically how to do what you're wanting it to do. It's saying, get ACS. ACS stands for American Community Survey. And we're asking for data for the state of Tennessee, and we're asking for county level data. All right, and from the county level, I want these variables. I want this list of variables. That's the C, and then the little parenthesis here says, okay, I'm going to give you a list of things. Create a variable called %SNAP, %SNAP. If you know anything about public assistance, SNAP is basically the name for funds that poor people get to help them buy food. The more common but outdated name would be food stamps. So this is revenue that you get from the federal government to help you buy food if you can't afford, if you don't make enough money to buy food on your own. But create a variable called %SNAP, and go to the Census Bureau and get the variable DP03 underbar 007 4PE, and save that data in this %SNAP variable that we're creating in this data frame called My Census Data. Do the same thing for a variable called household income. Create a variable in the data frame called HH income, and then go to the Census Bureau and get this variable B19013 underbar 001E, and store that data in the HH income variable in the data frame. This tells it what year to look for. The most recent year is 2020, and so I've told it to go there, and I've told it to look for the 5-year American Community Survey. Earlier, when we were looking at fair market rent, at median household rent, we looked at the 1-year American Community Survey. In this time, I'm going to get, and remember when we looked at the 1 year, you got data for only the bigger counties in Tennessee. If we look at the 5-year American Community Survey, we get data for all counties in Tennessee. Okay. This just is a formatting command that makes the resulting data frame a little more navigable, a little easier to use. It's wide format as opposed to narrow format. And then I'll come back to this command, but if this is geometry. Geometry is, remember how you downloaded a KML file when we were dealing with median household or median rents, and then you edited that KML file so that you had every county's median rent figure in there. This will do that for you automatically. It'll go get that that county level KML file, and not just for the counties around Nashville. It'll get all the counties in Tennessee. Um, if this false is true, if the word true is here instead of false. False means don't do that. I'll show you in a coming up video how to change this to true and why you might want to do that and what you can do with the results. And then finally, this last line of code is just going to save the data that you've retrieved in this my census data frame right here. Right here it's an R. You can look at it. You can even sort it if you want by hitting the little up and down arrows at the tops of the columns. But you really can't do much else with it unless without writing some additional R code anyway. But what this is going to do is this is going to save it as a comma-separated value file called my census data. Whoops, sorry, that's actually where it's going to get that's the name of the data frame it's going to get the data out of. It's going to save it on your computer as mycensusdata.csv. Okay, and that could be any name that you wanted. I picked that one because it's pretty descriptive. And it showed up actually down here. If I click on the Files tab, see there it is. That wasn't there before. This script put it there, and now you can actually go open that and import it into Google Sheets and do things with it, just like you imported the other CSV files that you've been able to download. So all right, so that's your first R program. I hope that running it worked for you. You'll know that it worked if you have a data frame in your environment that looks like this, and if you have this mycensusdata.csv file in your environment.